Okay, let's go. Guardians of the
20 minutes later.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume.
I'm hooked on a feeling. I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is once again written and directed by James Gunn and stars our characters from the previous movie as well as a few new additions. And I am the last person on earth to see this movie. Literally everybody's seen this movie. I had work, guys. I'm sorry, I had things to do. I'm a college student, can't you tell? I got work to do. And if you've not seen the movie yet, this is going to be spoiler free. If you've not seen it on the Thursday night showings or if you've not seen it at the early screenings, this is going to be completely spoiler free. All you need to know is that the Guardians are back and they're on their new adventures once again, going after certain things, which I'm not gonna go into, and doing certain things. And this movie is a lot about dealing with these characters and going into some of their more personal details, such as Peter Quill meeting his father, Ego, played by Kurt Russell, for the first time. And it deals with some of those raw emotions. I can't say any more because that would be spoiler territory, and I want you to watch the film and discover it for yourself. This movie surprised me in a very interesting way in that it takes a detour from the first one, yet keeps in with what the first one did well. The first one is a very fun, zany adventure with a lot of humor and some really great characters that we grew to love. And despite the fact that we had no idea about them before, or they weren't very famous for people who read comics or in real life in general, they grew on us and they became more popular characters than you'd ever expect. And this movie deals a lot with those characters. It deals a lot with what is about their personal lives. And I really like that aspect of this film. This is actually a pretty emotional movie. There's a lot of dark moments in this, and it really gives you time to look into these characters' psyches. And I really have to give credit because James Gunn, along with the cast, they've crafted a really personal film. A film that has a lot of that awesomeness which was there in the first movie, and they've brought it into this movie while also giving you a lot more into what makes these characters what they are. There are some amazing moments. You get to know a lot about Peter, of course, as this is the film about him. This is about him trying to know his dad. And Kurt Russell in this movie is really great. He does have a few scenes though which were exposition heavy, just for the sake of this, and then this, and then this, and then after that this, and this, and this. And there were a few scenes like that. But I really like what they did with this character, and I really like what they did with Star-Lord in this movie. And Chris Pratt really knocks it out of the park in this movie. If you liked him in the first one, you're gonna love him in this one. He is just as good, if not better, than the first movie. Zoe Saldana as Gamora as well. She gets some very interesting stories behind her. There are some scenes with her and Karen Gillan's Nebula which are very effective. Speaking of whom, you get to know a lot about Nebula in this movie. In this one, they gave her some character. They gave her a lot of depth. There are times where she's talking about stuff that's happened with her relating to Thanos, who is her father. If you've not seen the first movie, spoiler for the first movie. And those are very effective scenes. There were a few scenes though where Karen Gillan went over the top, and they weren't always necessary at times, but she did a pretty great job with this character and really exploring some things about someone who was a villain in the previous movie. Let's talk quickly about Baby Groot before we move on to the other stuff, because he is a selling point of this film. He's adorable in this movie. Vin Diesel is voicing him once more. There is auto-tuning though. It's not all of it Vin Diesel's voice, but it is majority of it is his voice. So that's pretty impressive. And he says a lot more in this movie, and it's pretty hilarious. There are some very amazing moments given to Baby Groot in this movie that had me rolling. They were absolutely hilarious. But really, this movie succeeds in really giving the heart. There is a lot of heart in this movie, and every time you get to a scene where they're trying to do that, where they're trying to establish a certain emotional moment, it's so well done. There are certain moments like that with characters such as Rocket, who again, Bradley Cooper voices him like a pro. And there are some scenes with him, and at times even Yondu, we'll talk about Yondu in a moment, which were really affecting. And beautifully done. And speaking of Yondu, Michael Rooker in this movie, I think he's amazing in this film. I cannot stress that enough. I can't go too much into spoilers though, but there are things about him that are brought up and things that make you reevaluate his character at times from that first movie, because in the first one, he was that guy who was like a bit of a jerk and nobody gave a shit about him, and in this one, you do give a shit about him. You care about him. He's got some character in this movie. As always, the visuals in this movie are nothing short of spectacular. This is a very colorful looking, very thrilling film that looks absolutely gorgeous on every single scale. On every technical level, this is a beautifully shot film. It looks amazing. The music too, Awesome Mix Volume 2 in this film is great. It's always great to listen to them 70s and 80s tunes, and in this movie again, no exception. There are some really good songs on it, and they're integrated well into the movie. At times, not so much though. There were a couple of times where there was a song playing and you're like, okay, did you really need it for that scene? But really, the best part of this movie is James Gunn's like dedication to this project. You can tell he's really giving it his 100% every single time we get into a really emotional scene or even a character development scene. And the writing in some of those scenes is really spot on. I would say it's not as good as the first one. It is almost as good as the first one. My problems with this movie are to do with this one subplot about these gold people called the Sovereign, if I'm correct. They were kind of not interesting. There was a subplot about them. They were in the movie a few times, and every time they popped up on screen, you kind of just wanted to go away from that and shift to the other stuff which was going on with the Guardians. And every time it went into that stuff, that was interesting. Every time it cut to something relating to those gold people, it wasn't very interesting. There's also not a lot of characterization given to Drax in this one. In the first one, we got to know some stuff about him, which was interesting. In this movie, there are a couple of scenes where you do get some more, but not too much. And that was also a bit of a disappointment for me. I would have liked to get to know a few more details about Drax and his relationship with the other characters, especially Mantis, played by Pom Klementieff, who's great in the film. She's very good in this movie. She's an excellent addition to the cast. But there were a few times where I would have liked some more with Drax. I would have liked to know a little bit more about him. I would say the first 45 minutes of this movie are a little choppily edited as well. There's a lot of back and forth going on, and sometimes the dialogue is also not as strong. It takes a while for you to really figure out where this movie wants to go with certain things. Once it gets there though, and as you build to this finale, which I gotta say is absolutely phenomenal. There are some points in that first act which were a little iffy, and I guess that's where the film is weaker than the first one, because the first one sets it up perfectly. You know exactly what's going on, you know exactly what they want to accomplish. In this one, it takes a while to get going, and there are some pace issues here and there for a bit. But the payoff is amazing. The second act and the third act, especially that third act, it's great. There are some beautiful moments, and when you see the film, you're gonna love it. Also, stay till the end of the movie. There's like 5 post-credit scenes, and they're pretty good. But in the end, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a fantastic time, and I'm gonna give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 a 9 out of 10. Alright, so Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, let me know. Or what is your favorite Marvel movie? Like, just let me know. Leave them in the comments and tell me what it is. The spoiler review will be up in a couple of days. I'll work on that. You guys are the best. Thank you so much as always for watching. If you like this, please subscribe, and I will see you guys later.